welcome to SGPN's The Daily Dog. I'm your host, Britton Hess, and I'm here to give you my 3 favorite Underdog fantasy plays of the day. If you're new to Underdog Fantasy, please sign up with promo code DAILYDOG, that's DAILYDOG, at UnderdogFantasy.com or on the Underdog Fantasy app. But let's get into the show. Yesterday we went 0 for 3. We're putting these 3-pick slips together, so if you lose one, you lose them all. I might as well get all of the losses clustered. That's much better than having them spread out across our slips throughout the week. We lost with Leon Draisaitl to have higher than half of a point against the Panthers in Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals. I thought the Oilers would have at least 2 goals in this game, and I thought if they did get 2 goals, there was a really high likelihood that Draisaitl was going to be involved. But after scoring in the first period, they did not light the lamp again, so that one did not come through. I'll be hard-pressed not to try to use Draisaitl when these games are being played in Edmonton, but we'll see what that multiplier is, because I think Draisaitl's too good of a player to be blanked on the stat sheet versus a team like the Panthers in the Stanley Cup Finals. And that's not to discredit the Panthers. I just think that the Oilers obviously have a lot of offensive firepower. One of these games, they're going to get it together and they're going to score some goals. I also had Salvador Perez to have higher than 1.5 total bases against Carlos Rodon and the Yankees. He had great history against Rodon. He did get a hit off of him, but it was a single. Much of this game, Anthony Volpe was just a vacuum at shortstop. Everything felt like it was being hit right to his glove. That's baseball for you. It's going to happen. I really don't regret that Salvador Perez play. I thought we had really good value on it. That it is what it is. Sometimes those don't come home. The last one was a little bit more contentious. Joey Estes of the Athletics to have higher than half of a strikeout in the first inning against the Padres. He got robbed. You can check out my Twitter. I got the images of it. But yeah, he had 2 beautiful strikes painting the corners that were called balls for some reason. And he ultimately did not get that first inning strikeout. That one would have hurt a lot more if it would have cost us our slip, but I guess luckily the other stuff did not come home, so we don't have to worry about it too much. On to the next day. So today we're going to be looking at Marcus Semien higher than 1.5 total bases at the Dodgers and starting pitcher James Paxton. Obviously, Semien is really good against righties. He's batting versus lefties. As a righty, he's batting .350 in this matchup, which is obviously huge. He's also faced James Paxton. He's faced James Paxton 16 times. He's got 4 hits on him. 2 of those hits are doubles. 2 of them are home runs. So yeah, he knows how to go deep in this matchup. And James Paxton has just been really lucky this year. His ERA is still about a point or 1.2 points lower than his FIP and xFIP, which is usually a predictive statistic that will let you know that ERA regression is likely to come. And, Paxton has given up 4 home runs at home so far this year. All 7 of the home runs he's given up on the season have been to righties. And I think that, there's familiarity here, obviously. And Semien is just built for these types of matchups. Additionally, Semien's 33 and he's never hit a home run in Dodger Stadium. He hasn't been to Dodger Stadium since 2020. As one of the historic venues, I think that Semien is going to want to check this one off of his list and try to get the ball out of the park. That said, I don't recommend the home run play unless you really just want to take a flyer on it. I think over 1.5 total bases at a 1.2x multiplier is extremely good value. Next, we're going to be looking at the Cubs against the Rays. The Rays have been getting destroyed by righties lately, especially from the Orioles in the last series where they lost all 4 games. That said, I think Jameson Taillon is going to give up higher than 5 hits against. In his last 5 games, he's given up 10, 6, 9, 6, and 7 hits. On the year, he started 9 games and given up 6 or more in 6 of them. And like I said, the last 5, he's done it in all of them. So his recent history is kind of trash as far as not getting hit. And again, the 10-hit game that he suffered was against the White Sox, who are the worst team in the league against righties. At least by average, they're the worst team. So that means that I love the Rays to get over this number. And, the Rays are actually pretty bad against righties as well. However, I just did mention that they had this horrible skid at the Orioles. The Orioles starting pitchers, Kyle Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez, 2 righties. They kept the Rays 3 for 38. Yeah, that's going to hurt the average. So this is kind of a circle the wagons game for the Rays after just getting destroyed by a divisional opponent. Jameson Taillon is a guy that you can try to get hot against. He is not elite at this point in his career, at least this point of the season. He's giving up tons of hits to bad teams. And I think that the Rays are in a good spot to get over 5. I thought that, honestly, this number should have been 5.5. If it was 5.5, I probably still would have tried to take higher than 5.5 hits against, just because I think that this is kind of a smash spot for the Rays. Maybe they're not, maybe they're just going to stink it up again against a pretty mediocre pitcher that is right-handed. But I don't know. I think that they've got enough guys who've seen him before and have hits on him before that they're going to be comfortable in this matchup, and they're going to be able to punish Taillon like the punishment he's received over his last 5 starts. Let me see. They've got a lot of guys who've got some history versus Taillon as well. So Yandy Diaz is 4 for 10. Jose Series 2 for 6. Ahmad Rosario 2 for 7. Brandon Lau 2 for 9. Jonathan Aranda 1 for 1. So there is some experience there. We just need these guys to put up 5 hits, and I think that they can do this in 5 innings. I really am very bullish on the Rays kind of breaking their streak of horrible hitting versus righties in this particular matchup. I wouldn't necessarily say, they'd go out and slap Dylan Cease around, but like I said, Taillon has not been throwing his A stuff lately, and the Rays really need this game. So I really think they're going to be free swinging, and I think they're going to get higher than 5 hits against Jameson Taillon. So the play is Jameson Taillon higher than 5.0 hits allowed. Last one, we're going to another pitcher, but this one is kind of the opposite direction. So we're taking JP Sears, and by we, I mean me, and if you want to follow. JP Sears, lower than 5.5 hits allowed. If JP Sears had a different logo on his jersey besides the A's, I don't know how this number would be 5.5 against the Padres. The Padres are number 23 in MLB in batting average versus lefties, and number 28 in BABIP versus lefties. It's not like JP Sears is a strikeout artist. He's going to be trying to get ground balls for a lot of this game. He can get strikeouts. He had 8 in his last start. But I think that just the BABIP numbers for the Padres being so bad really plays into JP Sears' favor in this matchup. He has 13 starts on the season, and he's only allowed 6+ hits in 5 games. But going back to the beginning of May, which is 7 games, he's allowed 6+ hits only twice. And that was to the Braves and the Rangers, 2 teams whose average is about 20 points higher than the Padres versus lefties. Also in that span, he's kept multiple good teams versus lefties below 6, including the Astros twice, and the Royals, who are number 3 in average. They stayed below 6 hits against JP Sears. So I think that, obviously the Padres don't hit lefties like either of those teams. And, when he's faced teams that are similar to the Padres, which are the Mariners and the Marlins, he's kept them way below 6 hits as well. So are actually below 5 hits as well. Below 6 and right at 5 for the Marlins game. But that's all to say that I think this number should be 5. I think it's 5.5 because he plays for the A's. And it's only an 0.85x multiplier, but I would say try to get that sooner rather than later because I think this one could move. I think it's just a total misprice by Underdog. If Taillon is at 5 and Sears is at 5.5, and they're both in advantageous matchups, but I think Sears has played much better lately than Taillon. I just don't understand why this, and obviously the ballpark matters too. The Padres is a much more pitcher-friendly ballpark than Wrigley Field. So I really just don't understand this number. Pairing it with the other 2 plays, which are Marcus Semien higher than 1.5 total bases against the Dodgers, JP Sears lower than 5.5 hits allowed, and Jameson Taillon higher than 5.0 hits allowed. That gives you a 6.12x multiplier. And, if you want to play a flex, play it a little safer. That's 3.06 if all 3 hit, and 1.2x if only 2 of these 3 hit. On the subject of bankroll, hopefully you're following me on YouTube and on Twitter because I put out promo plays via shorts on both of those platforms. We hit another one today, so I'm 2-1 on these short plays. The first one was a 12x multiplier. The second one didn't come home because I stupidly put in Giancarlo Stanton to hit a home run against Tyler Glasnow, but that's neither here nor there. But today, we had Caitlin Clark higher than half a point scored in the WNBA game tonight against the Connecticut Sun and her Indiana Fever. And then we paired that with Ryan Pepio, which was a scorcher to have higher than 2.5 earned runs allowed. They let us max this one out at $30. So we turned $30 into 108 with that. So definitely be sure to follow me on YouTube and on Twitter so you don't miss out on these kind of last minute promo plays. I try to put up a video when I see them on the app and when I have a kind of plus EV scenario to tie it together. A little bit of the backstory on how I ended up on the Ryan Pepio play with the Caitlin Clark thing is that Pepio was like plus 130 at sportsbooks to have higher than 2.5 earned runs allowed. And putting it with Caitlin Clark made it 2.5x, and I liked the over at plus 130. So it was kind of a no-brainer. I was happy I was able to share that with a bunch of people on Twitter and YouTube. So yeah, be sure to follow me so you don't miss out on these as I release them. Last thing, I'm just going to say, please like, subscribe, follow, whatever you need to do to let this podcast grow. It's kind of crazy. If I search for the show's exact name on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, the show doesn't show up. So I definitely need some more engagement in the likes department, the reviews department, and the comments or the written reviews. I mean, honestly, don't even do a written review if you don't want to take the time. Just give me 5 stars if you like it. Give me 2 stars if you don't like it. Whatever you feel is appropriate. I just need to get more of these ratings out there so I show up in the algorithm when people search. So that is it for today's show. Again, I'll reiterate the plays. Marcus Semien, higher than 1.5 total bases at the Dodgers. Jameson Taillon, higher than 5.0 hits allowed. And JP Sears, lower than 5.5 hits against for a 6.12x multiplier. That is it for today. Now let's make some money.